Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 495 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our fifth book just came out. It's called Perseverance and How to Be a Great Fraternity or Sorority Alumnus. So I want you to go and pick up that book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring in college students. Now, I have to tell you a fun fact. I was never a great athlete, despite playing track and field and lacrosse in high school. But I am a huge sports fan today. I am going to live vicariously through our next guest, who is immensely talented, not only on the softball field, but also on the speaking stage. Samantha Card played Division I softball on a scholarship to the University of Pittsburgh after transferring her sophomore year. As a dedicated athlete, she became the captain of the softball team while also pursuing her chemistry degree in the Kenneth P. Dietrich School of Arts and Sciences, the Department of Chemistry. Throughout her collegiate sports career, she became a solidified roster starter and a 3-4 power hitter. Upon graduation, she pursued her master's degree in business administration at the Joseph M. Katz Graduate School of Business, where she also studied abroad in Marseille, France at Euromed Marseille Ecole de Management. From there, she catapulted up the Fortune 100 corporate ladder while always keeping a pulse on sports through mentoring college athletes, which is really her true passion. She also became a dynamic speaker, motivating athletes all across the country. Welcome to the show, Samantha.
Thank you for having me. What an intro. It's kind of like it was planned already.
I know. It's almost like we actually rehearsed this or something. I tell you what, I'm available. If you want to take me on stages all across the country, just pack me away in your suitcase. I'll do that intro every day of the week.
I may take you up on that.
Let's do it. So you decided on the University of Pittsburgh for your undergraduate and also your master's degree. I'm wondering, why did you choose Pitt? Why did you transfer there as an undergraduate as opposed to anywhere else in the country?
Yeah, it's a good one. I'm originally from Miami, Florida too. So I had never been exposed to winter. And my first year, there was 9 feet of snow. And just like a side funny fact, I had a Mustang. So I had no idea about how to drive in it, let alone walk in it. So that just gives you a immersion of what I dealt with on day one there. But academics is critically important to me. I knew long term I wasn't going to go pro in sport. Softball just wasn't there when I was in sports, although I aspired to play in the Olympics. And Pitt is a research institution, well-renowned, and had 8 hospitals. So the science discipline is pretty aligned with where I wanted to go. So it just fit.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And you and I are the same in many ways. I've actually owned 2 Mustangs in my life. Great car, so much fun to drive. I went to school at the University of Buffalo that also gets just a little bit of snow. And
Yeah.
I tell you, that is not the car you want in snow weather, okay? You might as well park that thing for the entire winter because you ain't going nowhere in that car.
No way.
But I absolutely love Pittsburgh as a city. It's a beautiful place. If you haven't gone, try to visit in the summertime as opposed to the wintertime because the winter can get a little dicey, but it is a wonderful place on earth, amazing people, and just amazing food and, all kinds of great stuff to choose from. So a great place to visit. Now, I'm wondering, as an athlete, how were you able to balance school? And University of Pittsburgh is not easy, okay? I know that is a really good school. How do you balance that with also being a Division I softball player?
There isn't a right formula, and anyone who says there's one specific way to do it, they're lying. I wasn't going for perfection. I was really trying to apply knowledge. And for me, it was around just failing fast. So I may not get it right on the first go. I may, I may go all in and it not go the way I planned. I may fumble over a lot of different things, but what I wasn't going to do was I wasn't going to let sports be a limiting factor, and I wasn't going to be academically a limiting factor for how I performed on the field. So I already had that mindset of I can do hard things. Balance isn't a real thing. Just figure out the right flow, and you're going to get it wrong more than you get it right. As long as you don't tolerate a problem, you'll be fine.
Mm, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
You graduated with your bachelor's degree in chemistry, okay?
Mhm.
And then you had a full-blown identity crisis. And I know what you mean because I graduated with accounting. Go figure that me, the most creative guy on the planet, somehow has an accounting degree. So what was going on in your life at the time that you have this degree in chemistry, but suddenly you have a full-blown identity crisis? Like what was going on there?
So just a little backdrop of what I was immersed in from like a background perspective. So I graduated in 2009. So
Mhm.
the economy had been pulled back in 2008. So you had that. I also had a bleak resume because sports was a year-round thing for me. I started when I was 4 years old, competitive at 8 years old. It was year-round. I never had a summer off until I was like 20 some years old. So I went all in, and my goals were all around getting to the Olympics. And that year in the Olympics, they had taken softball out. So now I didn't even have a pathway, let alone, the professional landscape when the economy pulled back. That was one of the things that got cut. And there wasn't a lot of funding there. So I'm here having this plan of what I thought was going to be the pathway. And overnight, it was a cliff dive. And for a long time, sports was who I was, not what I did. And then when it got stripped away, it really hit me like a load of bricks. I never dealt with high functioning anxiety. I never dealt with depression, any of that kind of stuff. I always had a good foundation. But when you have a goal and then it gets stripped away overnight, you realize real quickly that sports is not who you are. It is what you did, and it's a vehicle. And that's what helped me overcome it. But that initial period was gruesome.
Mm. Let's talk about that vehicle a little bit more because you were able to then parlay your sports and you
Mhm.
catapulted up this Fortune 100 ladder. Talk to our audience a little bit more about how sports actually helped you to excel in the business world.
In the business world, everyone's just trying to figure it out. I don't
Mhm.
care what your title is. I don't care how long you've been in the environment. The best leaders, the most effective leaders, not efficient, but effective leaders, they just fail fast. They don't tolerate problems. So for me, I already had that in me as a leader. I was a captain of my team. And I think one of the biggest things is when you think about leadership, it's less about your individual development and like what is the whole, thinking of the whole greater than the individual parts, but understanding that you have to work on certain skills within yourself as your role within the total. Right. And I think that helped me. The ability in softball, you fail more than you succeed. So if you have a batting average of 300, that's actually considered pretty good in college. It means you
Mhm.
fail 7 out of 10 times, and you have no ego there. So bypassing the ego and really focusing how you can contribute in a larger way is one of the critical steps that I was able to, leverage.
Mm. You've been talking about failure a few times here in this interview, and that seems kind of counterintuitive to most normal people, right? Most normal people think that if I fail, then I suck, right? Like I'm no good. I'm somehow less than, but
Mhm.
you don't view it that way. Like you obviously view it very different. You're talking about failing fast. So explain to our audience how something that is most people would consider bad is good for you.
So I always kind of illustrate it this way. Every day one that I've ever had, I bring my failure resume. I don't bring a traditional resume. I don't, because that only tells someone where I've been. It doesn't tell someone where I'm going. Showing your failure resume says, these are the things that I didn't do so great, and these are the areas and opportunities that I actually worked intentionally on it. This is where I was able to gap up. This is where, you know what, it's not in my core capability strength. And this role doesn't require that, right? But I can get those skills through mentorship. It drives a different conversation, asking for the resources you need and the development plan in your control, based off of accepting the fact that you learn more from failing than you do succeeding. So why would that be any different in your development process? So that's why I view it.
That's beautifully said. I mean, everybody has a resume where we're bragging about all of our accomplishments, but the reality is we learn the most from where we failed, where we didn't execute. And I'm sure you're familiar with Michael Jordan talking about how many shots that he's missed, but yet he continues to win, right? I mean, that's what we all know him for. We've forgotten about all the times that he missed the game-winning shot, and etched in our minds is every time that he was able to go up and hit it with the game on the line, and he's like, just in complete jubilation on the court, right?
Yeah.
So that's really, really interesting. I love that answer. I think that's brilliant. You also love to help other athletes. For you, that's an honor, and that is a passion of yours. So when you're actually mentoring another athlete and you're working with them one-on-one, how do you help them get to where they want to go?
Well, I bypass my need and desire to want to solve things. And then I really focus on creating this space. When you create the space for someone to just be where their feet are, they may think they want something, but in reality, it's something completely different. And all you have to do is put them in proximity of the space to be able to figure out, well, how do you integrate and win? And by doing that, you're meeting others where they're at. You're meeting them in the language they can receive and where they're starting. And then you build from there, right? There is no peanut butter spread approach. There is no one size fits all. It's really not about scale. It's about effectiveness. It's about being very intentional with the time that you do have, whether it's one time, 10 times, individually, with the team. It really doesn't matter, because if you're where your feet are and you create the space, it drives a more authentic, relationship that then you can overcome a lot of different things quicker.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really, really good. I mean, I see that a lot in terms of the speaking that I do as well. Different universities and different students and different communities are at different places with regards to, let's say, risk management is a good example, like alcohol and drug abuse on college campuses. We both know that it's an issue on college campuses, and different universities are at different places on that spectrum, right? Some know how to manage alcohol and drug abuse and to keep risk down. Others have absolutely no control whatsoever. So you just have to meet that client where they are, understand and listen to what their problems are, and then help them to troubleshoot and help them solve it themselves using the resources that they have available. And really, our goal when we're talking about risk management is just to reduce risk and come down that ladder, if you will, of risk, right? So if they're super risky and they're on, step number 9 out of 10 on a ladder, then my goal is to get them one notch lower, get them to 8, get them to 7. I'm probably not going to solve everything and get them down to a 0 overnight, but you just have to meet them where they are. And hopefully over time, they'll continue to make progress, right? So I think that's a good illustration of, some of the work that you do with athletes and also some of the work that we do with college campuses. So that makes a lot of sense. I'm thinking a lot about athletes and how they're now paid for their brand and their likeness. And this is a new thing for college athletics. So how do you know a good deal from a bad one?
Well, not all money is good money. We
Hmm.
start there, right? But you have to really start with, what is the why behind the you? Each athlete has core values, and a lot of times they're making decisions off of beliefs, or they've never seen that type of money before, and all money's good money. So reframing the mindset and understanding, number one, the psychology of the values you stand in and the psychology of money, right? What are the attitudes and behaviors that drive you is so critically important, because it garners more self-awareness for oneself to be able to delineate a good deal from a bad deal. I can't be with every athlete, let alone every agent, to make decisions for them. That is not my job. My job is to empower someone within their best skill sets and be able to let them lean in and give them the tools and mechanisms in place for them to be able to rapidly make decisions, fail fast, improvise, and correct. That's what makes a good or bad deal. Does it align with the values that I stand in, so I can shoot for my purpose, so I can shoot for my noble cause? I say a simple one. If you're an O lineman, okay, and you're a vegan O lineman, there's no need for you to be doing a deal with a beef company. right?
Mhm.
Same on the reverse. If you're a big meat eating lineman, right, there's no need for you to be doing a deal with a vegan company,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You have to just be where your feet are. You have to be present with not only where you're at today, but where you intend to go in the future. So it takes some big picture thinking, but also you're not going to get it right all the time. It's making sure you have the right structure and contracts also in place to be able, if it doesn't suit you anymore, to be able to get out of that. And that's where I think a lot of issues, because they get locked up,
Mhm.
that becomes the obstacle.
Yeah. Along those same lines, I'm kind of wondering, I mean, we hear about these athletes all the time that they make a ton of money in the pros, but then, later down the line, we find out that they're broke and they're like declaring bankruptcy. And now there's a whole bunch of college students that are being paid for their brand and their likeness. So now they're getting money earlier, even before they get to the pros. I mean, is there education going on with the athletes in terms of how to manage money?
Well, and that's one of the things that we do. We
Yeah.
help them understand the psychology of money. What are their
Mhm.
biases? Why do they have the urge to want to go buy the chain?
Right.
Why do they have the urge to want to go buy that purse?
Right. Or car
Right?
or
Or what
house.
are the different mechanisms that might suit where you want to go? Right? And if you want to go get it, go get it. But let's parallel path and put you in proximity to others that are experts in space. The problem becomes is you have people that are profiteers
Right.
and people who want a piece, or they just want to be around that athlete to then use that name, image, and likeness for themselves to get other clients. For us, it's about impact before the income. We don't push product, right?
Mhm.
What we do is we don't only educate, we help them apply it. We give them
Mhm.
simulation, we gamify things. We make it very real for them to understand, well, what's the cause and effect of the decisions or the way I view the world, and how is that going to come back at me? Whether it's financially, whether it's alignment on brands, there's a whole host of implications that if you put yourself in the wrong position from a contractual perspective, you may not be able to play for a team that has a different sponsorship breakdown,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I know a couple of athletes that almost lost their full name, image, and likeness. They no longer own their name, image, or likeness. Like, blows my mind. And then, the misconception of how much money is really being out there. What gets polarized in the media is such a small fraction of what the average is. I mean, the average deals are like very little. They're not millions and millions of dollars. Maybe you have a very select less than 1% that is, and that's great. But for the grand scheme of it, it's actually minimal, but high impact if you're not careful in how you structure it.
Mhm. That's really important. I'm glad that you mentioned all of that. And that's news to me. I mean, as a common person, we think that every contract is a multi-million dollar deal, but it's good to know that that's just really like the 1% of the contracts that are out there. Because for us, I mean, we don't know. We don't really know how much money is going around for these various sponsorships. And, you mentioned the profiteer, right? You mentioned the person who is trying to siphon money from the athlete and they're trying to get into their orbit for various reasons, right? For
Mhm.
publicity, to get another athlete as their agent or what have you. So, as an athlete, how can you manage all of these relationships with other people as you're building up your championship routine?
Being an athlete is a business. Act like a CEO. If you want to be an enterprise, act like a CEO. And what that means is understanding your values. What are you standing in daily and aligning yourself with others who have the same values but bring different skill sets?
Mm.
Skills can be taught, values cannot. If someone does not align to your values, and just because they were there from day one, does not give them the authority to be in proximity to you. And that is where I think athletes go sideways a little bit. Well, they knew me when I was nothing, and
Right.
now I'm here. And it's okay, that's great. Now, what are they doing to better their life? Right? Because it's all about closing the gap. It's like, are you going to play down to competition, or are you going to, have others play up? You
Mhm.
need to have others play up so you can create higher highs and higher lows. But if not, and you play down, then you're always at a deficit. I mean, I'll give you a fact that I always lead with athletes. When you're around, and this isn't just an athlete consideration, this is a people consideration.
Mhm.
The data suggest that when you are around high performance humans that are operating at a very high level, you naturally will gap up 15% by even being in proximity to them. On the reverse, if you are not hanging around highly effective and efficient people, lazy people, people that have no desire, no noble cause, no purpose, you go down 30%. You lose more than you gain. The data's out there. So I always say, well, what are you really gaining? It's okay to have authority over who has proximity to yourself. You actually need to be keenly aware to that, because just because someone fit in this season of you does not mean they're there for the long haul. Now, you don't have to burn bridges. I didn't say that, but not everybody wants to go where you're going, and that's okay. And that's the part of when I say fail fast, it's not just in the gym and a project, it's people relationships. How many times do we stay in things and give someone that second, third, fourth shot? Some people are deserving of it, some are not. Why do we tolerate that problem, but we won't tolerate something that we think is tied to money? Well, relationships are a huge tie to money because that helps you get connected with others. Right? So it all interconnects. And my job is not to get you to go play professional. My job is actually not to actually get you in the door. That's your job. I'm there to keep you there. I'm here to give you a door where you have a choice to go through it. And I create the holistic tools to help you on your mindset and overall high performance efficiency and effectiveness. Like, that's what I do. So that normally throws people because they expect me to like solve it for them. And I'm not. That's not my job. That's your job, your choice. If you want to lean in, lean in. If you don't, I'm still going to sleep okay.
I love it. You've got your elevator pitch down, which is really, really good. And really what you're talking about is essentially you are the average of, the 5 people that you're surrounding yourself with the most. So think about that. Who is
Yep.
around you? Are they bringing you up or are they bringing you down? And sometimes you have to fire them. Just like you said, it might not be burning a bridge and literally saying you're fired,
Yeah.
but it's basically saying, listen, I'm at a different place right now and I need to hang out with different people. And so I think that that's super important and certainly part of our success at Greek University. I just surround myself with incredibly successful people that are smarter than me, that have more degrees than I do, that have accomplished
I get
more.
it.
And ego is not a part of it at all. I like people are like, wow, you're hiring some really great speakers. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm going to surround myself with the best people on the planet because that's going to level me up. Am I intimidated by it? No, I want them at the table helping me to make decisions. I mean, that's literally it. And the conversation you just had about, thinking about values and thinking about skill sets of the people that are surrounding you is extremely important, not just in sports, but in anywhere, in corporations, in businesses, in fraternity and sorority. Like, make sure the people you're bringing into your fraternity or sorority share your values. If they don't, then they don't have a space that you shouldn't be inviting them in. And also make sure you're looking out for complementary skills. Like, if you have a treasurer who's about to graduate, then you need a skill set of somebody who's an accounting major who can actually help you with your budgets and managing the books, right? I mean, this is like just like common sense things, but things that you really have to pay attention to because I think not enough people are paying attention to the values and the skills of the people that they're inviting into their orbit. And that is really where we need to be. So really, really nicely said. I like all this conversation, and I think it really applies to every listener, whether you're into sports or you're not into sports, doesn't matter. It's the same concept. Really good stuff. And speaking of, like a resource that's applicable beyond just athletes, you have a great book out. It's called Success Beyond Game Day. So what will we learn if the students who are listening pick up this book? What are they going to learn by getting the book?
It's an interesting thing because some people think someone writes about their experiences, the book's about them. It's not. I just share my experiences, and some of it will resonate very directly to what you're going through now, and some of it may be forthcoming. What I do is I showed how I failed miserably, how I succeeded, and everything in between, where I tolerated problems, how I overcame a neck injury. it really just shows you my pathway and the way I viewed it. And it'll give you a chance to like reflect and have you sit still with, well, where am I right now? And that's what it can afford you, right? You don't have to be an athlete, right? I have veterans that are looking at this beyond the battlefield, right? And how do you transition those skills, and how do you have all that experience that you've garnered, right? With all of some gloom around that. Like, how do you reframe your mindset? And it's just a guide. I'm just a guide on the side. It's not an end all be all, but if it helps you in whatever season you're at, I'm pretty confident that the book will really be a resource for you to just consider how to sit still for a second and just think about something.
Yeah, I think this book is going to be a great resource for all of our listeners. It's called Success Beyond Game Day. And I love how transparent you are with some of the things that you failed at, that didn't go right. Because I think like, especially college students today, they're under so much pressure to get
Mhm.
everything right every single time. And that's not reality. Like you and I, we've both failed a million times, and that's why we're going to win. It's like,
Yeah.
you don't get it. Like literally, either we're going to win or we're going to learn. And either way, we're winning. Okay. So, I think we have to look at it from that mindset and sometimes celebrate our failures because that's one step closer to success. And that idea is really hard for college students to wrap their minds around. You and I know it because we've been through it. But if you haven't been through it, you're like, oh man, I'm a failure. Like I literally just, completely destroyed this one project or this one paper or whatever. And that's okay. You're going to learn something from that and you're going to apply it next time. So, love the book, and I really encourage all of our listeners to go out and pick it up. It's called Success Beyond Game Day by Samantha Card. Now, we do love good food here at the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. So, the next time I find myself in St. Augustine, Florida, where should I be going for a great meal?
There's so many to count. I had to write it down for you because it all depends on what you want, right? I'm big on experiences, right? So if you want
Uh,
Spanish food, little fact, St. Augustine is the oldest city in the continental US. So it has a lot of Spanish influence.
yeah.
Colombia is a
Uh-huh.
really good restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Harry's, which is kind of a seafood bar and grill, and it's in the downtown area, so you get the charm of it.
Uh-huh.
And then Caps on the Water. That's like higher end seafood on the water, gives you a really good vibe. So those are my recs.
Samantha, you know your food because you said Columbia first, and that restaurant is absolutely exquisite. I literally ate there probably a year ago, and we literally had dancers come in,
Oh
and
yeah.
they were actually dancing while we were eating, which was fantastic. And the food is so delicious in that area. It's just wonderful just to walk around through the shops in that area around Columbia. So you know good food. When you said Columbia, I'm like, yep, she knows what she's talking about. I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
this is not a pretender. This is somebody that knows good food. So next time I'm in St. Augustine, I'm going to look you up and we're going to go out and have a
Love
really
it.
great meal at Columbia for sure. Great stuff. So if our college student athletes or just our college students in general, they want coaching, they
Mhm.
want speaking advice, or they want you to come and speak on their campus, maybe they want to come and pick up your book. It's called Success Beyond Game Day. Where should they go in order to connect with you and get all the things?
So you can go to my website, right? Successbeyondgameday.com, right? That can hit a whole lot of connection points depending on what you need. You can get my book on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I've got an Audible, Kindle, hardcover, paperback, whatever is your choice. It's there. And what's really cool is you don't have to be an athlete, right? So we can set you in a mindset practice that connects you with me virtually, and you can do it with your team and your friends. And don't limit yourself. All you got to do is go on the site, and we can get you set up.
That sounds like an invitation for a sorority or a fraternity to come and work with you as a team. That would be a lot of fun. So listen, I appreciate everything that you do, Samantha. I'm so happy that we had a chance to record this, even though we met like forever ago.
I
I'm
know.
so happy that we finally got a chance to get it down on tape. And I got to tell you, I'm proud of the work that you're doing. I mean, you've made so many improvements and so much success over that time that I'm just super proud, and I can't wait to see where you go next. So congratulations and great job.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the platform. I love what you guys are doing. Any way I can serve you and your audience, I will. So never hesitate. And then I'll take you up on your offer at Columbia.
All right, you got it. Listen, I'm always down for a meal at Columbia, and I'm paying. Don't even worry about it. All right. So, Samantha, thank you so much. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation with Samantha Card, I want you to like it and I want you to share it with other students, other athletes, other leaders on campus that need her book. That also, if you want a speaker on your campus, Samantha is the one that you want to call. So make sure you contact her. And thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks and bye for now.